I do have a statement that I would like to read from the mother of Stephanie, and I'm going to quote verbatim. "I'm glad they found who murdered my daughter. I never believed the case would be solved. It's good to have some closure, but there is no justice for Stephanie at all. We will never have complete closure because nothing will ever bring my daughter back to us."
In the heart of Las Vegas, Nevada, known for its dazzling lights and endless entertainment, lies a story that starkly contrasts the city's usual narrative. This place is where the excitement of the night fades with the rising sun, revealing a community just like any other. It's here where the tale of Stephanie Isaacson unfolds, a tale that reminds us how tragedy can strike in even the most unsuspecting places. In today's True Crime segment, we dive into a heartbreaking narrative that shook the foundations of a family and puzzled law enforcement for decades. Join us as we navigate through the twists and turns of a bizarre case that remained cold for years until the truth inevitably surfaced. Stephanie Isaacson's life was a tapestry of fleeting moments and cherished memories, woven against the backdrop of her nomadic childhood. Born on August 12, 1974, in Lincoln, Nebraska, she was the embodiment of youthful innocence, her laughter a beacon in the shifting sands of her family's constant relocations due to her father John's military career. The desert city of Las Vegas, Nevada, became their final stop in 1985, where the dazzling lights of the Strip were the opposite of the dark fate that awaited. In this city of illusions, their lives were punctuated by the roar of motorcycle engines and the serene silence under the water's surface, each moment a testament to their shared love of the untamed wild. John loved her daughter, and she loved him. In fact, when her parents got divorced, Stephanie elected to stay with his father. As the sun rose on June 1, 1989, Stephanie started the day like any other. She had breakfast, prepared for school, and left the apartment at around 6:30 a.m. It was routine for Stephanie to not see her father at this time, as the man was typically sound asleep from working the night shift. The mundane act of walking to El Dorado High School became the last chapter of Stephanie's story. Her usual shortcut through the desolate desert field, a path she had taken countless times, transformed into the setting of a nightmare. That morning, she never arrived at school, but the school faculty did not call John, dismissing her absence as due to illness or something else. However, Stephanie's choir teacher grew concerned upon not seeing her eat with her friends at lunch. It was a meal they have always shared. It was a tightly knit circle after all. Later that afternoon, John was in the apartment growing more anxious with each passing minute. Stephanie had not arrived home in her usual time, something the good kid rarely does. He then called the school, and his stomach must have dropped upon learning that Stephanie never made it there that day. John began dialing some of his daughter's friends, but none of them had any idea where she was. Inevitably, his very next call was to the police and report Stephanie Isaacson missing. Not content on waiting for the authorities to take action, John headed to the Air Force Base. With the help of some of his military friends, he picked up horses from the base and rode them toward the desert area surrounding the school. They covered every inch of the place, tracing steps Stephanie could have taken that day. As nighttime was threatening to cast its shadow, and the group was about to give up their search, one of John's friends spotted a trail of school books. It was scattered at around the half-mile point from the apartment to the school. As human beings, many of us are accustomed to jumping to the worst-case scenario in times like these, and at that moment there was no telling what was in John Isaacson's mind. John and his party immediately confirmed the nightmare that they were, in fact, his daughter's books. They notified the authorities, who shortly gave the green light for a massive air and ground search that very evening. The search went on for hours until about 11 p.m., when Stephanie Isaacson was found. The discovery plunged the city of Las Vegas into a deep, unsettling silence. A police dog veered off the path Stephanie would have taken to school, and there, amongst the bushes, hidden under a discarded piece of orange carpet, lay Stephanie, her body a silent testament to the cruelty she had endured. The sight was harrowing. Her denim pants were pulled down, and her brown hair was a mess. In the aftermath of the discovery, authorities launched an exhaustive investigation, combing through leads and interviewing potential witnesses who reported seeing a mysterious vehicle near the crime scene. Despite these efforts, the case grew cold, as each lead fizzled out and the trail went dead. The lack of conclusive evidence and the varying descriptions of the vehicle seen near the murder site only added to the frustration. In the years since, investigators have traveled to Washington, Ohio, and Texas to churn up suspects. Still, decades passed, and Stephanie's case receded into the background, becoming one of many unsolved mysteries, dormant but not forgotten. That night, as John went home to his empty apartment, he called the radio station and asked them to play Bette Midler's "Wind Beneath My Wings," as it was his daughter's favorite song. John's days, once filled with the joyful companionship of his daughter, became haunted by her absence. Still, he became a figure of resilience and determination, channeling his anguish into a relentless quest for answers. For the next 32 years, nothing happened, until one day there was a break in the case nobody expected, a shocking discovery.
A break in a 32-year-old cold case. Police saying this afternoon that they have identified a suspect in the death of a 14-year-old girl. Investigators say back in 1989, Stephanie Isaacson was sexually assaulted and strangled near Nellis and Stewart. Last year, police say they got a donation to help solve cold cases with limited DNA. DNA was sent to the lab and police got a match.
Fast forward to the year 2020. A Vegas entrepreneur and philanthropist named Justin Wu, through his charity, made a sizable donation to the police department. This donation allowed them to process old cases, and Stephanie stood out due to her age and the brutality of the crime. However, there remained little hope because countless DNA testing of Stephanie's clothes and other effects yielded nothing over the years. In January 2021, police sent the lab the remaining nanogram of DNA, the equivalent of 15 human cells. In comparison, a typical consumer genetic test uses at least 750 nanograms. In other words, this was their last shot, and the odds were stacked massively against them. You would not believe what happened next. Setting a world record for the least amount of DNA needed to solve a case, the department announced a match in July of 2021. A genetic profile of the suspect was constructed using the small, usable sample. The limbs of a family tree were then constructed by genealogists. After 32 years, they finally had their guy. The DNA in the semen on Stephanie's shirt belonged to a man named Darren Roy Marchand. Darren Marchand's life was marked by a dark history of criminality, including charges of slaying and indecent exposure, painting a picture of a troubled individual. He has also spent considerable jail time because of these acts. When his DNA matched those found in the Isaacson case, Marchand was married during this period with a nearly 2-year-old daughter. Records also show that Marchand had one more child with another woman. While this brought a sense of closure to the Isaacson family, there was never an arrest made because Marchand died of suicide in 1995 at age 29.
Nowhere in the stretches of my imagination can I imagine the pain and the anguish that Tony and the rest of Lori's family and friends went through.
Stephanie's mother had a similar sentiment. "It's good to have some closure, but there is no justice for Stephanie at all," she said. "Nothing will ever bring my daughter back to us." We'd all like to think Marchand did this to himself to atone for what he did, but no one can really tell. The disappearance and morbid slaying of Stephanie Isaacson is a chilling reminder of the fragility of life, where the line between the mundane and the malevolent is terrifyingly thin. Her story is forever etched into the heart of Las Vegas, a tale shrouded in the eerie stillness of a city that never sleeps.
Thank you for watching. Drop your thoughts on this chilling story in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more daily true crime stories.